from that, we get another NFL football story. Tuesday, big day.
Yeah, trade deadline here. So the NFL has been a lot more active in the trade market these last few years.
Well, as we talked maybe about a week ago, there's a new breed of general manager now in the National Football League. A bunch of these guys are analytics. A bunch of these guys are Ivy Leaguers. The NFL would never change their roster. This is the roster we have. We're going to play. Well, within the last 2 years, we have had a lot more changes on rosters because new breed of general manager making trades because I inherited this player. I don't think you can play. I'm going to move you. Making trades. I want you off my salary cap and off the books. Making a trade. I don't know that I value high draft picks anymore, so I'll put them in the package to go get the player I want. So there's about 15 big names that are on the NFL trade block. We just had the first big deal the day before the deadline. Deadline is tomorrow, 1 p.m., Tuesday, trade deadline West Coast time. The New York Giants traded Pro Bowl defensive end Leonard Williams, big stud from USC, traded into the Seattle Seahawks. They included $8 million on the rest of the contract, cash with Leonard Williams, and they got a second-round pick and they got a fifth-round pick. Say one thing about Pete Carroll and John Schneider, who runs the operation there in Seattle. They are fearless about pulling the trigger and making deals. This is a really big-time football player. He changes the whole persona of the Seattle defense because now they're going to be a bunch of warriors up front. They got good linebacking, and they got a ton of guys, the rebirth of the Legion of Doom in the secondary. This is a huge trade. It's the first big trade. Now, other guys that could be dealt by the Tuesday deadline. Chase Young, the defensive end, the former star at Ohio State. He's on the final year of his Washington contract. They did not pick up the option for the additional year. He's been slow to recover from knee surgery. He's available. Maybe he just needs more time, but maybe Washington just wants to stockpile draft picks. There's another defensive end by the name of Sweat Montez who's there. One of those guys could be traded by the deadline. In Denver, Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver of the Broncos, has been shopped, but maybe things have changed because Denver's now won 2 games in a row, which is kind of hard to believe. Hunter Renfrow, very popular guy with the Raiders, route runner, tough guy. He's kind of been lost in the shuffle. He's just not part of what they're doing. Raiders are looking for a pass rusher. They might package him in a draft pick to try to go get another defensive end. Derek Barnett, the great vested veteran, Philadelphia Eagles, is not playing. He's off the bench. He might be a short-term rental as a veteran. Carl Lawson of the Jets, defensive end, could be traded. And there was a lot of conversation that Derrick Henry, the big heavy-duty running back, got over 8,200 yards in his career in Tennessee, might be traded. But now Dallas has said, no, they're not in the running to go get a heavy-duty running back, although I think they need one. The thing about Derrick Henry, although he's got all miles on him, still pretty productive. The back end of this last year of his contract is only $5.8 million. There's a lot of clubs that could afford to bring him on. Maybe he makes the push and makes them a playoff contender because I still think he can tote the rock. And then you negotiate with him on a contract extension a year from now at a reasonable price. So trade deadline is coming up. It's going to be fascinating to see what transpires at the deadline. I don't know what the Rams are going to do. The Rams, if Matthew Stafford's gone for an extended period, then the Rams season's effectively over. Do they move what few veterans are left out there to try to get more picks and just continue this rebuild? Chargers do not have a history of making any type of bold picks, but a player like a Leonard Williams inside a defensive tackle could have made a huge difference as a run stopper. But the Chargers historically under Tom Telesco, they don't trade draft picks to get veteran players. So that's where we are, the eve of the NFL trading deadline. And John Riley says
Derrick Henry would be an interesting guy to go to the LA Chargers. I mean, because they need like a power running back, even though Eckler had a really good game.
Yeah, but they got Josh Kelly, and the Chargers don't have as much cap space.
Well, plus they need more on defense anyways.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. What about the Arizona Cardinals? I mean, that's a team that needs to make a trade to try to resurrect that.
Well, they've loaded a bunch of draft picks. I mean, they're a miserable team right now. Kyler Murray is practicing. He's been taken off the PUP list. Whether or not he gets activated next week or the week after, but they're playing a backup Josh Dobbs, who can't win games for them. So I would assume Murray is going to stay. They've indicated Kyler Murray is not on the trade block in Arizona, but he's got such a mega contract. I don't know, A, that they could afford the cap hit to move him, and B, who can take on that type of contract. So I think Kyler Murray is married to Arizona for at least another year. And if Arizona has a miserable season, then Arizona's got the decision when we get to the draft next spring. You're going to take Caleb Williams, USC, if you already got all this commitment to Kyler Murray. Can you move Kyler Murray in a separate deal to get more draft picks after this season is over? So a lot of moving parts in Arizona, but we know one thing of all. They're not very good.
No, they're not. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what these teams do. Have there ever been any kind of, just in your history with the NFL, just some crazy trades? I mean, I know the one for Herschel Walker back in the day was nuts.
Yeah, that was like 11 for 1. And it worked out very well for the Dallas Cowboys. It kind of worked out marginally okay for Minnesota. Eric Dickerson trade. A lot of people have forgotten that. Now that goes back eons.
Mhm.
Marshall Faulk got traded when he went from Indianapolis to the St. Louis Rams.
Right.
So those are 3 of the bigger modern day
Mhm.
NFL trades. But again, back in the day, I'd say up till 2015, nobody made trades at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this next breed of leadership comes in, all these Ivy League general managers, and we'll find a way. We'll make the salary cap fit. We'll do it. Trade that guy. Move this guy. I don't want that guy. I want this guy over here. I mean, it's fascinating to see how the landscape has changed. Baseball trading deadline has always been spectacular from a fan
Correct.
standpoint.
Yeah.
The NHL has now become a huge thing. We had 43 trades at the NHL trade deadline last February.
Wow.
That's become a big thing. And now the NFL general managers are catching up to it too. So it's a different mind thought. Hey, we get to halftime.